YouTube vinyl community of Montreal fans, random people on the internet. My name is Giggens. We are here today to talk about Of Montreal's 2012 absolutely beautiful piece of work called Paralytic Stalks. Get a look at that cover. Man. Of Montreal is basically the brainchild of leader Kevin Barnes. They've been a band since 1996. They've shown their influences through all of their albums, influences ranging from David Bowie to Prince, the Beatles, neo-classical, funk, pseudo-country, soul, avant-garde, you name it, they've done it. And they put on some of the most kaleidoscopic and amazing live shows you will ever see. They are an ever-changing band with a sometimes changing lineup, and absolutely one of the few bands in this generation that captivates your imagination in a way that a lot of other bands don't. This album comes after a string of very highly critically acclaimed and commercially pretty commercialized selling albums called Hissing Fauna Are You the Destroyer in 2007, Skeletal Lamping in 2008, and The Controller Sphere in 2011, which was an EP, and False Priest, which was an album in 2010. This era of the band was very much a peak for them commercially. They were all over TV sometimes. They were just kind of blown up. They were part of all these different festivals and just a whole different run for this band than it was in their early days when they were really inspired by vaudeville, the Beatles, and coming from the Elephant Six Collective in Athens, Georgia, which featured bands like Nutrimilk Hotel, The Apples in Stereo, and Elf Power. And all of the guys in all of those bands played on each other's records, and everyone was just kind of together. And in the early days, Montreal really was kind of like a group project in the sense that Kevin wrote all the songs, but the band would play in the studio. Starting in 2003, what became the album Satanic Panic in the Attic, Kevin did 99% of it on his own, and that trend stayed for a long time, including up until this album. You know, there would be times where the other guys would help out and contribute vocals or contribute a guitar part, or on this album specifically, string sections and flute sections and wind instruments. This album is a dramatic shift from their earlier work in the sense that it's not instantly a dance album. It's not instantly catchy. It begs for your attention. It begs for re-listening experiences over and over again, because even though this album's been out now for 4 years, I'm still falling in love with it over and over again because it's so heartbreaking, it's so sad, it's so mesmerizing in its melodies, and compelling and strong, and easily one of the best things they've ever done. And kind of wanted to just go through why I feel like it's that way. A little bit of a song-by-song analysis, and then I'll kind of wrap it up at the end. But this album is truly a standout album in their career, and also, in some respects, the end of an era. Because the albums after this have been back to a group effort, and definitely not of the same intensity, definitely not of the same writing structure. It just feels like this album was kind of like a shedding of skin in a way. Just like, here's everything I have to give. The opening song on this album is called Jela Descent, or Jela Descent. I'm not really sure how to pronounce it, but it's this bending, twisting, hypnotic drone that leads into this huge cacophonous release of turmoil, and, you know, supplanted against these expressive drums and anxiety-riddled singing. It just keeps building up and building up into this feedback crescendo, like this humongous swell of emotions, before also dipping into the next song, Spiteful Intervention, which is delivered with this really terse vocal arrangement, and letting out anger through grit teeth. It's got this like really angry sort of feel before going to this bouncy chorus, this maniacal bouncy chorus about how it felt good to make the love of his life cry, and like why that felt good to him. And then he's also realizing at the same time that he shouldn't feel this way. He should feel a certain way, but he's stuck feeling this way, and he doesn't know how to feel the other way. What a song. That song leads into Dower Percentage, which actually was a single, and they played it on the Jimmy Fallon show at the time. I think it was still late night at that point. This song is very much a flute-laden type of track, slight 70s soul vibe, really passionate vocals that range from sweet to bitter, and using elements from another song that was on their Daughter of Cloud album, which was like a B-sides rarities collection. The next song, We Will Commit Wolf Murder, is absolutely heartbreaking. It features a lot of overlapping vocals. The verses are sung rather somberly, and then you get to these like pre-choruses. You can't even really call them choruses, but the amount of emotion that he puts in his voice, it almost comes to a whimper, like he's got nothing left to lose, and he spits it out over this mesmerizing melody that's completely captivating. It's a song you can't escape from because you want to hear what's going to happen next. No matter how many times I've heard this song, I can't turn it off because you just keep waiting and waiting and waiting. Malefic Dowry is the next song, and this is a song about inadequacy, trying to realize and reassess a relationship, imagining what it could be, knowing what it's become, and kind of coming to terms with that. Ye Renew the Plaintiff. This song is absolutely mind-blowing. This driving, propulsive rhythm underneath perfectly syncopated vocals that lead to, again, a chaotic and manic frenzy, complete with out-of-tune screaming. And I remember the first time I heard it, it was jarring, because here he is just like letting it out, this like pent-up emotion, and he's just, screaming. And oh, man, really powerful. Very, very powerful. The amount of raw emotion that he just lets loose in this track, it's crazy. It's like a plea for validation. It's like trying to figure out why you are the way you are. This searching for a truth. Truly, truly an interesting piece of work. Winter Debts. I think this was the first song released from the album. They put it out online first. This is an interesting song that tells stories about not being sure how much more one can take in a situation and figuring out how to overcome that adversity, sometimes within yourself. It incorporates like a pseudo-country vibe. There's a slide guitar going on, and that's kind of a first for them, or definitely it'd been a while since they dabbled in that kind of sound. And again, it's another sort of like transitional song that eventually the second half is just this ambient kind of musing to sort of mirror the first part. Exorcismic Breeding Knife is definitely the most challenging song on the album, but it's a warranted song, and it's needed because I feel like this whole album is about this manic energy. It's all about heartbreak and looking for validation and figuring out your place in the world. And here's this track that's completely bizarre, almost like it almost encompasses this feel of losing your mind. And the lyrics are very dark and expressive and colorful and, again, imaginative. I keep using words like this over and over again because their music is so kaleidoscopic and it is so full of emotion and range. That even a track like this, which is very much just this ambient collage of sound effects and weird, terrifying melodies, it's kind of like an internal struggle that you are trying to overcome. Or at least maybe Kevin was trying to overcome, or if it wasn't about him, it was about a person like him or something. Maybe it was a character. Truly an interesting piece, that's for sure. Leading up to the last song on the album, Authentic Ferric Remission. And this song is absolutely beautiful. It's broken up into a couple of parts. The first part is a colorful romp through adoration, almost like a thank you note. The middle part was very much done through help from Kishibashi, who has his own solo career now, but at the time was still with Montreal. He's a violinist, an incredibly gifted violinist, and I will be reviewing one of his albums later. But he creates this atmosphere of paranoia, this build-up, and the track is very long. I think it's like 12 minutes long, and there's 3 minutes at least of just this teapot kettling swell of insanely overlapped violins beating against each other, trying to like give you this like twisted mind headache, and it's absolutely amazing. But it just this humongous build up before it comes like to a slow crash, and this very maudlin piano comes in, and you're left with this expressive, haunting melody about being in exile and being beat and being put down, but then coming to grips or terms or acceptance with either the end of something or the beginning of something, or just letting something go. With the very last line of the album, "Our illumination is complete." And wow, I mean, this album is a journey through all kinds of emotions. It's definitely not their most dancey, but it's, oh god, it's at least their most interesting, that's for sure. Each album after this has sounded nothing like this album, and who knows if we'll get an album that sounds like this ever again. It comes from a dark place, so it's kind of asking a lot to be like, hey, could you make an album, you know, when you were super depressed again? It's a really weird thing how art can come from such sadness, to put it that way. Here's the back of the album, and the inside of this album. This particular edition is an early bird version, I think they call it. But that's what the inside of the album looks like. And then the records themselves, this one happens to be on pink fuchsia vinyl, which is absolutely stunning. Very, very cool. This album is, again, I cannot stress enough how powerful this album is, how at sometimes emotionally raw it is, how blunt it is, how expressive the lyrics are. I mean, it's absolute poetry. This whole album could be just read as a poem, and if it was just words, it would still be extremely powerful. But then you got this mirroring music that is unbelievable how much emotion can come just from the music alone. And even if this was just music with no words on top of it, it would still be equally as interesting and amazing to listen to. I can't get over this album. It continues to blow my mind. Montreal is one of my favorite bands. They are just so interesting. And, you know, in an era where pop music and music in general can sometimes be completely dull and ordinary, thank God that we have this band who never fails to deliver something interesting. Even if some of the songs aren't that great, it's way better than what other people are doing. So, I gotta give it to them on this one. This album, for me, personally, is an absolute 10 out of 10. Hands down. Yeah, a true piece of art. An absolute true treasure. Again, it comes from a place of absolute desperate sadness, but sometimes that makes the best art. And we can appreciate that for what it is, and hope that the person who made it is feeling better at least, or at least maybe their lives are picking up. But in the meantime, while this happened, you know, maybe that was a release, and things got better from there. But, wow, what an album, you guys. Of Montreal, Paralytic Stalks, out on Polyvinyl Records. I highly recommend it. Highly, highly, highly recommend it. My name is Giggens. This has been Album Reviews with Of Montreal, Paralytic Stalks. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for commenting and liking these videos and letting me know what to review next. Thank you so much. Of Montreal, thank you so much. Thanks, guys. Bye.